Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to go over how to assemble one of my roadies, aka a Frenzy and Rumble, or whatever you want it to be. As you see in the background here, I've got 4 different colors going on. I've got this guy partially assembled. I forgot to print out part of his legs, that's why he's like that. And I've got Frenzy and Rumble duo here, plus another guy. And I've also printed a golden colored one here that I'm going to go and walk through the assembly in this video. The hardware we'll need, first we're going to need a little bit of glue for some of the panels. Then we're going to need to make 2 pins for the hinges on his legs, and I use these large paper clips. They need to be, the metal needs to be 1 millimeter in diameter. No smaller, and if bigger, just a hair bigger. The holes are 1.15 millimeters to 1.2 millimeters, so they fit a 1 millimeter pin. When we get the pin in, we'll use a little bit of glue on the end to ensure it stays in. I'm also using 1-inch 4-40 imperial screws. The metric equivalent to this, or the closest equivalent, would be an M3, and I bought like a whole box of 1-inch 4-40 screws, and what I'm doing is I'm taking a pair of wire cutters here, and I've got a 4-40 right there, and I cut them down as I need them for my projects. It's cheaper that way than going and buying like a 10 of this size, 10 of that size, so forth and so on. I'll just buy a large box of these, a 100 piece box, get them in bulk cheaper, and then trim them down as I need them. Now I have 2 drill bits here. Let me see. So I have this drill bit here. It's just slightly larger than 1 millimeter, and that's in case due to printing, orientation and whatnot, that the holes are either filled or not to size. I can use this bit to carefully drill out my pinholes for my hinges. And I also have this drill bit here, and it's a little bit under, diameter wise, under the size of my 440 minus the threads, for any holes that may have been printed hole down, and you might have a elephant's foot or some material in there just to clean them out. So I have these 2 drill bits also for that purpose, and I already went ahead and for the holes I've already gone ahead and done that, and I'm hoping I don't need to do it for the hinges, but we'll see when we get there. Okay, so that's the hardware and the tools I'm using, and then a screwdriver for the screws. And there are some processes here that have to be done before others. So first off, let's take the items we're going to glue them and set them aside. So there's these 2 panels, these 2, these 2, and these 2. We're going to glue these and set them aside to dry. The lid might be stuck on this. That's okay. I got another bottle off to the side I'll grab. Okay. I don't have any 3D goop. That stuff is a little bit pricey for what it is, and this works just fine for the purposes of this. These aren't structural components anyway. This is just generic, no-name crazy glue or super glue. Put that little speaker there. Set it aside. Set it aside. These we have to carefully line up. So this straight edge here that doesn't have a border needs to be flush with these edges. Sorry, let me grab something to point here. This edge right here and this edge right here. Not these edges. These are tabs. This edge straight across. And there's a left and a right, so make sure this curve matches here. So these are not the right ones together, they're the opposite. So this is what I need. And my glue I didn't apply enough there. There we go. I'll line that up on the back and the top and bottom, make sure they're lined up. This I'll have to hold for a second because I want to make sure it stays lined up. Out at the top a little bit. I'll set that like that so that it stays. You could also two-side tape these on. That would work as well. But there's no reason to take these panels back off, so I'm just using glue. Line that up. Make sure these edges are flush here and here. Come on. You get flush there. Okay. Set that aside. Now, for the majority of the left side components, you're going to have an L. Like right there. The right side, there's nothing on them, so that's how you know they're right for the right side. For the left side, you have a tiny little L. So what we're going to do is we need to take this lower knee, or this knee joint, or lower thigh. This is universal to either side. This needs to be installed on this panel before this panel gets hinged to this panel. This needs to be installed first, or else you'll not have access to the screw that goes here. Just slides on there, and then I either trim a screw accordingly, or I already have some pre-cut off to the side, and I just put that in there and not overly tighten it, because these are very small parts and they're printed. Everything here is printed in PLA plus, but enough to give me some friction. Work it in a little bit there, and then that'll loosen it up, and then tighten it just a bit more. And then we've got all the friction we need. We have this component here. This is the hip socket, and you have a mushroom peg, and that goes on here. This is universal also to either side. This just goes on here. You might hear a little snap that it gets into place like that, and then you've got your thigh rotation and your knee joint right there. So we can do the other side now. this goes on. Oops, wrong side. This is for your foot, this is for your knee. So this goes on like this. And I'll grab a screw here that I've pre-cut. Just be careful not to over tighten. There we go. And then we'll take our other top thigh piece and we'll now we can assemble his feet. There are left and rights. The front toe has an L on it, and it should have let's see if I can find one that's not warped. So this should line up. They're not quite centered, and this one got warped obviously off the bed, but it's a good thing I printed lots of spares for this assembly here. So let me just clean the supports off one of these. Did the right one here, but let's check it. Okay, so we're gonna grab a screw, combine the heel and the toe. This is gives us our ankle tilt here, this little joint. So I snug that up. Make sure it still moves. Get your ankle rocker. We'll do the other one. And then we got our left and our right. So this is our left. So that will go in there like that. And we're going to grab another screw. Make sure that's not too tight. We'll end up snapping that. I would like to point out the PLA I used for the yellow here is a PLA Silk Gold, and it is very fragile. Hindsight, looking back, I should have used this PLA Plus I have here, this yellow, but I wanted to try a gold. But this silks, fine PLA silks, are very fragile, and this is no exception. I'm getting breakages here on this just from simply holding it wrong. So, but we're going to continue with this build because the purpose of this build is to show you guys how to put this figure together. However, I just like to point out that this silks are not very good for making tiny components like this. The other figures here you see behind my build, they're all made with PLA Plus, and they all turned out just fine. that out, clean that hole out a little bit. That's not going in, so I didn't clean it out good enough. No, I got material in there, so I'm going to take a drill in that bit I showed off a minute ago, and I'm going to just clean out that hole, just like that. That should make our job a whole lot easier now. There we go. A little too tight. Like I'm worried that I'm going to break this this gold here. Yeah, and then I broke it. Okay, now that I have my lower legs all assembled, and I've whittled through some components that decided to break on me, this silk PLA is just horrible stuff for anything structural. I actually printed enough of these to make 4 of these guys, as when I do multicolor printing, like this little head that's 3 colors, I like to print as several of them so that I mitigate the waste a little bit. And if I want to print some, I want to build some more later, I don't have to go print another head. So what I did is I printed 5 of these heads and 5 of anything multicolor in here, like this chest piece. And I was going to build 5 of these, but this silk PLA, it's pretty fragile stuff. It's not the same as the PLA Plus there. It's not as durable and it breaks quite easily. So we'll see how the rest of this build goes. But like I said, this video is just to show how to put these guys together. So we've got our legs here, and I'm gonna grab these front pieces now that are nice and glued, and we're gonna pin them. So there's a left and a right. And this little indent here, the circular indent, is to make room for the head of the screw here. So, or get the proper one for the proper side. There's our, and then we'll line that up, clip it in there. Actually, what I'll do here, show you guys, it's easier to put the pin in if you fold the thigh down, and then you have better access to the little pinhole. And I'm gonna grab one of my homemade pins that I've made from paper clip, and this is what you might have a better tool than this, but this is all I have on hand at the moment. So I'm just gonna start that there, and if you've got a burr on the end of your paper clip, file it down just to make sure it goes in there smoother. So that's out at the bottom, and I'm going to snip it at the top, and then we're hinged. And what you could do is I recommend a little dab of glue there, or both sides, just to prevent the pin from sliding out. I'll fold that down, and we'll put that in, and then close that. Grab another one. there's that one. Great. Okay, so now we can untab this and thigh back up. Tab that back together. Take the foot down, untab that. Bring the thigh up. Tap that back together. We have our feet. We can set them aside. There's our body. There's our crotch. This just plugs into there, and then a screw in there. Grab one that I've pre-cut to a close enough length. In the bottom. Go. And then this can just go like that. Like that. And then you've got part of your assembly done. If you find these are getting loose and coming off too easy, or your tolerances aren't that great and they're coming apart, check to see if your tabs and your little thigh piece have broken off. You might need to replace this piece, or if it's not broken off, apply a little bit of Mod Podge, that's thinned out white glue, to both surfaces. Let it dry, put them back together, and that'll give you a more stiffer joint. Okay, now we're going to put his, I'm knocking stuff over, we're going to put his arms together. So let's get things separated out here. Left, there's a little L right there. That's a right. Let's see. A little L right there. And these don't matter, these are universal. Let's see here. A left. And what are you? A left. This is universal. This is universal. And a left hand. Okay. So for his arms, this is the very front, and it goes on first. It goes on here, and we just need a very short screw to hold that in place. I'll allow this to rotate for both modes. Still a little loose. There we go. Then we take our middle arm here, put it in there, work it in a little bit. There you might have an elephant's foot there, or a little bit of debris from your support material. So just work it in while it's not in the joint, or else you might snap off that very fine, very small detail there that's holding the arm on. Okay. See, I got some debris here. So this is the back of the arm. This is the inside of the back of the arm. There's clearance there for that screw. And this is the back of the arm here. So before we put that on, though, we also need this component here, and that will sit like that right there, and that's your joint there. And then just make sure this rotates freely, and then grab two screws. that. Now, for the forearm, we've got this little peg on each side, and they will go in this hole. And then you've got your mushroom peg for your hand, and again, you want to put that in and just work it around a little bit in case you have some debris or an elephant's foot on there you want to just wear down. And I wouldn't recommend grabbing the thumb. It's very small. You'll end up breaking it off. And we put that right like that. And we grab the other side. Get that on and work this hand in. If you work the hand, it should eventually... Oh, goddamn yellow garbage. I have to be careful with these hands as well too. The white filament is PLA plus and doesn't adhere too well to this silk PLA. I hate silk PLAs. I don't know why I used it. It looks pretty and everything, but the durability on silks are just horrible. That hand. Make sure everything can move. Orient the hand properly. You got your bicep rotation, your elbow joint, and this will be your shoulder and everything up here, and your reverse butterfly for transformation. But there's an arm right there. Now we'll go and do up the other arm. I have extra pieces here. This is a extra left that I took out. And an extra right. Okay, let's grab them. Grab these. This guy. I don't have a screw I've cut short enough for that, so I'm going to have to do up one. And I just eyeball it. But I've built so many of these that that's moving freely. It's a little stiff, but it'll be fine. Loosen it up a little bit. Okay, now another thing that distinguishes the right arm from the left arm, make sure it moves freely in there, is this little peg here on the right arm. On the left arm you have a port, and that's when you transform him into his alt mode, they peg together like that. Just like the head sculpt, when I print out little things like these hands, I print out multiples just to mitigate the amount of waste. And if something breaks, if a finger breaks or whatnot, I'm not going to go up to the printer and print another set of hands and waste a ton of plastic again, because I've printed out half a dozen. And whether you print out one or half a dozen or a dozen, the waste is the same. So I print out a bunch. And that way, if a finger breaks or something like that, I just have a spare in a container. You can see these fingers here sheared right off. This is the white, and it's separated at the yellow because this yellow is garbage. And I put a left hand in there. 1 second. Let's grab a right hand. Make sure that's clean. There we go. Now I need, there we go, right there. And there we have his arms assembled, and then body. And all we have left now is we have a plate for the bottom of his head, and then we'll take his arms and his head assembly and we'll insert them in the back of the body, and we'll install the back half of his body here, and then he'll be complete. So I had to take a pause mid-video as I had some technical difficulties wherein I forgot to print the little base piece for his head. In my pursuit to printing enough parts to make 4 or 5 of this guy, I completely forgot to print this one part. So I had to pause, run a batch of these, and now I continue with the assembly where we left off. So we have our arms, we have our body and our legs. Now we just need a screw and our head and our little base for our head right here. And we'll go, we're almost done with this assembly. Okay, make sure that that's right, the right way around. So there's an angled edge and a square edge. The square edge, the straight edge, needs to be towards the front of him, with the angle near the back. Okay. Now we can connect everything together. So there's a little piece of plastic that sticks out here, like 2 little ridges. That's why you need this flat front. It sits on there and prevents this from tilting forward. So we'll put his head in, this arm, and we'll lay him down. Just set everything like that, and you need his back here, and you just get that over everything, and then you should be able to, as long as you hold it together, don't do what I just did, get that head back in there. Hold that tightly together, and just 2 screws here and here. Again, when you're done here, if you find these 2 ball joints are loose or they get loose over time, just apply some thinned out white glue to the socket in the ball, let it dry, and that will tighten everything up. That's that side. Okay. Now there's this side. And that's it. He's fully assembled. The wing, or the wing assembly, the drum assemblies, I'm not going to go over them in this video. I don't have an extra set printed out, but let me take that out of there. It's just the 3 pieces. They go together a certain way. It's obvious how they go together. And it's just one 4-40 screw or an M3 screw. And you don't want it to go the full length. You only want it to go halfway up here because you need this little slot up here to tab. Let me get this out. Tab this into for your drum. And then when you take that out and pop that on there like that, and then you got his wing assemblies. When you print the left and the right of these and you have them in robot mode, this will cover this gap in his back for where his head sits in his recess pocket there. They will, that one there and the other one there will pretty much cover that gap. Okay, so that's the assembly of this guy. I went over the transformation in a previous video, but let's do it again with this one to ensure everything works properly. Let's fold these feet down, rotate the waist, unclip this, rotate at the thigh, unclip this, rotate at the thigh, rotate these, front arm panels, bring his arms back, make sure his legs aren't in the way, put his hand in right like that in there, and then bring this back, fold that hand down there, put it in there like that, bring this hand back. This is a little tight because he just got fresh assembly, and then you tab them together. Rotate that a little more. There we go. Tab them together like that. They'll go together a little better once we've got the legs out of the way of the arms. Fold that leg up like that, and turn that hand a little bit out of the way. Fold that leg up like that. Now you should be able to, there we go, like that. And then we can bring all this together, tab that together, and then in the back we can these little tabs. See, I've got these hands right here. There we go. That should be better there now. Trying to tab this together. Why aren't you going in there? There we go. That's that. Oh, I accidentally untabbed them. I think I have the hands turned the wrong way in here. That's why the thumbs are hitting outer panels. The hand should be turned so that the thumb is inside. But you guys get the gist of it. We roll these out a little bit. And there we go. We have our speaker. I think the back came undone. It did. You know what? Hold on a second. Let's turn these hands around. There we go. Okay, we'll go like that. There, that's a little bit better. And my tabs there broke because this silk is really crappy. But nevertheless, it still works. So, the little stage speaker. So that's how you put this guy together. And that's a quick demonstration of how he transforms. And in my next video, I'll be going over, set him aside, Slugfest here. I won't be assembling one of these. I'll just go over how he's assembled because it's pretty simple. There are no screws. It's just some glue and some pins. And I have some guns designed for him to peg in here that transform into stage lighting. So that'll be my next video. And then after that, I'm going to do a how-to assemble video for my beast box up there, the headbanger. And I've got an alternate head sculpt and parts for him that make him look like an Optimus Primal. I might showcase that fella in that video as well.